So we go from St. Peter's to St. Bavo's to explore a centuries-old art history mystery. St. Bavo was a monk who lived in Ghent in the 7th century. St. Bavo's Cathedral dates back to the 10th century. Today, it is a Gothic masterpiece, but traces of its Romanesque design can be seen in its crypt below. Back upstairs, the architecture is its own work of art, but it houses many other works of art, including this painting by Flemish master Peter Paul Rubens. But it is another Flemish masterpiece that is even more historic, and it is a supersized one, the legendary Ghent Altarpiece. The Ghent Altarpiece was created by Jan van Eyck and Hubert van Eyck, specifically for St. Bavo's Cathedral in 1432. In fact, specifically for this side chapel. How do we know? Well, because the light source you see on the figures in the painting seems to be coming from this real-life window up to the right. The Ghent Altarpiece's correct name is actually the Adoration of the Mystic Lamb, as the lamb in the center represents Jesus and is considered one of the finest works of Northern Renaissance art in history. But here's the problem. This isn't the Ghent Altarpiece. This is. The original was moved to this area of St. Bavo's Cathedral behind glass in the 1980s, and it has been here ever since. And standing in front of the real painting is nothing short of spectacular. The story of Revelation come to life, the characters of the Bible and world history flocking to adore the mystic Lamb. Now we get to talk about the journey that it hasn't always stayed here. It was very coveted by a lot of not so nice people.
There is a whole history during the 16th century, the period of the religion wars in Ghent. It was hidden in the tower of the cathedral, and then afterwards it came back. And during the French occupation at the end of the 18th century, the 4 center panels were brought to Paris, to the Louvre. After the Battle of Waterloo, the center panels came back, but the trustees of the church sold the doors to an antiquary. And so they came in Berlin.
Really? Just sold as if it were just a regular work of art? Then, after World War I, the Ghent Altarpiece's pieces were all recovered. But of course, this reunion didn't last long.
During the Second War, the whole mystic lamp was hidden in Pau, in France, and there Hitler found it and he brought it to Neuschwanstein in Bayern.
Yeah.
And when the Americans came in Normandy, everything was brought to Altaussee in a salt mine and hidden in the salt mine, and there the American troops found it back in 1945. And so it came back to Ghent. So we are very grateful to the monuments man who found it back.
This is the heroic story of the Monuments Men, a group of mostly American art experts who, at the end of World War II, preserved and recovered artwork stolen by the Germans. The Ghent Altarpiece was one of the most important pieces to be recovered. But there's one more curious problem here. This center panel, the most famous panel, isn't here. Yep, this isn't the real one again. So, where is it? Did someone steal it again? Nope, we know where to find it. For that, we travel just outside the historic center of Ghent to the MSK Museum. For many years, the Ghent Altarpiece underwent restorations here at the MSK Museum. We were lucky enough to witness it in person in 2019. To get to see it happening here now, it's so tiny, so meticulous.
The conservation project is absolutely amazing. It's a real revelation and slow process, and the results are absolutely stunning.
But the reason why the panels needed to be restored, surprisingly, has nothing to do with it being stolen over and over. Why was it painted over, and again, which time period was it painted over?
Well, you'd think that such a wonderful old mass is eternal, but actually it was an altarpiece used in a mass. There was a daily mass provided in the 15th century, so it was open and closed regularly, and candles were used, and that's one of the reasons we assume that there were some paint losses occurred on the lower part of the paintings. But then in the 16th century, around 1550, some very, very skilled painters were asked to basically overpaint the surface just to hide local repairs, older restorations, and also to refresh the colors, which look a bit tarnished underneath just older varnish layers.
Finally, it was decided that it was time to chip away at all those restorations to reveal the beauty of Van Eyck's original work.
What, are you using solvents or just chipping away with the tiny scalpel? What techniques are you using to make sure you're not damaging the original?
We're using very fine surgical scalpels. Some of them are even eye surgery scalpels. They're very fine and extremely sharp.
So, by scanning through all those layers, the original images have been revealed, including shadows that are more crisp, colors that are more vivid, and even an eye transplant.
Have there been any surprises once you've chipped away at something? Have you found something underneath you weren't expecting?
One really surprising result was the head of the lamb in the Adoration of the Lamb had been completely overpainted, and its expression had been transformed. So Van Eyck's lamb, the one we see now, has a human face. So the eyes are put forward like in a human face, and the little ears are lower than the eyes, which like on the human morphology. When he was overpainted, they changed the position of the eye, put them on the sides, and add larger ears at the same level. And so the lamb, after the overpaint in the 16th century, looked more like an animal, a very neutral animal. And now it has this very confronting gaze, and that's really fascinating.
And that's the center of the whole piece, so people were seeing the wrong version of the lamb that Van Eyck had drawn or painted.
How incredible to get to witness this important moment of art history. But there is one last piece to this artsy puzzle. Even when the center panel is nestled back into its spot inside St. Bavo's Cathedral, there is still one panel that won't be replaced anytime soon. Remember that mirror in the bottom left corner? That is the missing Just Judges panel that was stolen in 1934. To this day, no one knows where it could be or if it even exists. But why the mirror? Well, that is the work of a more modern Flemish artist. It was added as a quirky statement so that you, the viewer, become one of the judges inside the painting.